What's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast this week. We're your hosts, Wes, Chris, and Marcus. Before we jump into tonight's episode, we want to take just a second and say thank you to each and every one of you guys that's been following along on the journey so far. It really does mean the world to us. We really do appreciate it. If you're checking out the show on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. We do want to hear from you guys. We want to get some feedback on the show. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you can stay up to date whenever we drop new episodes. When you're done there, jump over to one of these platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and give us a follow there. It helps the show to grow. This is true podcast platform. You don't get the video, but you do get the audio, and you can download an episode for whenever you don't have a chance to sit and watch the show. Also, if you don't mind, share the show with your friends. Help us to get out there to the masses and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. Central Time for new episodes. Lastly, if you would like to be a part of the show or you have a show idea, shoot us an email at amongtheashes@yahoo.com, or you can jump over to our DMs on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, all searchable by Among the Ashes Podcast, and leave us a message there. So now that all that's been said, let's jump into tonight's episode. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast tonight. We are your hosts, Wes and Marcus. Chris is at a concert, Forrest Frank, I believe.
That I don't know.
I believe they're at, yeah.
Slacking again. Just kidding.
Nah, he couldn't be here tonight, but he did say he would be here tomorrow. But we've got a special guest in tonight, kind of impromptu, but kind of planned, but not planned. But yeah. So how's your week, man?
Pretty good. Busy and slow, if that makes any sense. Sometimes it was slow, and then it's all out.
Yeah. I went to Montgomery for a show. We left out Tuesday about midday, and then, well, probably about 10 o'clock, and then got down there and set up, and then we did the show Wednesday. Total waste of money, in my opinion. A bunch of old heads. If I saw one blue hair, I saw 100. Bunch of board members, like co-ops.
Is a show like y'all do, like a Vegas show?
Yeah, like trade show. Yeah. We just set up a small booth about as big as this and a backdrop and all. And we saw some clients, but most of it was
normal vendors. Or?
Yeah. A lot of them were people we've either been dealing with or trying to get into. And my partner Tanner, he's just not been able to get in there for whatever reason. And but it was more of the board members than they're all retired and than the actual people who do the work. So in my opinion, it was not a very good show. I wouldn't go back, but if we sell one auger, it'll pay for itself. So it'd be worth it, I guess.
You get to make those calls anyway.
Right. But it was a chance to get out of the office. I'll take it any chance I get. I love being in the office, but I do love getting out like that too. And it's a good time, man. Montgomery, I knew it was historical, but I didn't realize it was as historical. Have you ever been down there and seen the Capitol and all that? That's the first time I'd ever been down there around it. Like it's pretty, man. Mm-hmm. Then we went down and down the river
get
walk.
Away from there, and it's straight hood.
Yeah. 5 minutes in any direction is a little rough. When we went down the river walk and ate dinner, and it was pretty down there, so we had a good time. So yeah. But with that being said, we have wrapped up our Men of Valor How to Be a Man series with Rick Burgess. We're going to start the Forge next, right? Yep. So for those of you that's been following along, go ahead and get familiar with the Forge.
Kind of seemed bittersweet though, didn't it? Like to me, it did anyway. You know, going through it and preparing every day, and then now it's over.
Yeah, it went a little faster than I thought it would. And for those of you that's been following along, we will be on hiatus as far as teachings go for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. But we will be doing some interviews with people and
still just kind of keep bringing you videos.
Yeah,
still gonna keep in touch with you.
Yeah, we're gonna stay on,
and we're gonna be letting you know what we're doing in the future also.
Yeah, we're gonna stay on the man topic and how to be a better man in general. We're gonna stay there, and we're gonna interview some guys from our small groups. Some of the leaders and then some of the ones who just attend and just kind of get your perspective or get their perspective on what they saw. So yeah, with all that, then we're going to bring on Dewayne Colburn tonight. Dewayne is your partner in crime there at your church.
Yep. He's one of him and Jesse are my left and my right hand. So whichever you want to be. Yeah. But no, in all honesty, Dewayne, he's helped me at church and he's helped me start. He's really been one of my right hand men just to get into this the men's ministry and getting it to going in church. I felt like the Lord when He called me to do all this. Dewayne had already been in ministry and had already been through. He had already spoken and preached, and the Lord just put him on my heart to really help me. I feel like the Lord, it was led by the Lord for you. It wasn't just happenstance that, I just picked somebody. I really feel like the Lord led me to you to do it, and He's been helping, been doing a good job.
Did you ever think you'd see Bobby Hill preaching?
Yeah.
Dewayne, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, y'all.
Yeah, man, doing good. Doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem.
You still uncomfortable?
I'll be all right.
Yeah. It'll ease up here shortly. Yeah, it'll pass. So, tell us about yourself, man. Where are you from? What you into? How long you been married? All that good stuff.
I'm right here. Well, originally around Empire Sompton area, but we in Hayden been here about 6 years. Happily married. I'd say if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be where I am, probably in ministry. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even probably got in church and been saved.
Yeah. You're about like us. You gotta working on a basketball team there. That many kids.
That's right.
How many kids you got?
4 more, and we want 1 more.
Yeah, 4 more and want 1 more. You got 4 and want 1 more.
4 and want 1 more. There we go.
So
wave the white flag.
Yeah. So the 1 more, the 1 more is that adopting, or you're wanting to actually have another child?
It actually has. I biologically don't have any myself.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I have a plethora of videos to send your boys to show them that Jordan is the GOAT and that LeBron is the flop. Yeah. But I don't know if I can convince them, just like I can't convince Cullen and Keegan. It's pitiful. So
just something.
Evidence is out there, dude. The evidence is out.
Yeah, 100%. It's out there. It's crazy that so many. And look, I'm not knocking LeBron. Like, he's easily top 5. I think. You know what I mean? Like, I could give him that. I might even debate top 3, but the best. Charlie Kirk said it best. When you go out on the town and people are looking around, do they say, "Hey, man, are those LeBrons?" Or do they say, "Hey, are those Jordans?" That ends the debate for me. So,
just something with kids nowadays.
Yeah, you can't tell them nothing, man. I don't know where they get it from, right?
Nah, I don't know.
Yeah. So you got 3 boys and a girl,
right?
Yeah, and they're into sports.
Yeah, well, girls, she's more into band. Our youngest one's playing baseball, and she's played softball about 5 years, and then she's left softball and got into band, and she kind of there for a minute, wasn't sure if she wanted to stay with band or back to softball, and I think she decided to stay with the band. So,
but she had something big today, did she?
Yeah, she had the opportunity to go down to Alabama and play with the $1 million band today, and got to go down and sit in the stands with them and play right amongst the $1 million band at Saban Stadium today. So
that's pretty awesome.
She really enjoyed it.
She's been playing at church too. She's been doing really good.
Yeah.
So they actually
let them, a lot to it.
They actually let them sit with the band and all that. Not just you're not just get to meet them. You're actually in there playing with them and stuff.
Yeah, they had a kind of like a crash course of what they was playing this morning, and gave them the signs of what songs they're going to play and all that, and they sit with the band.
Oh,
they was. I don't think the whole band was there because they said it's normally about 400 is what the Alabama band is, but they was a big majority of them there. Then they got to sit, in the stands with them and play with them and everything.
I remember one of the first games I went to was with Jeremy Moon, and we're sitting in the student section, in the handicap section there, and I look up, and I don't remember Arkansas or somebody, but I looked and their band was way up in the top corner up there, and I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because you can't hear them." I said, "Makes a good point." It makes a good point. So, so you've been in ministry now how long?
Right at 3 years.
3 years.
Maybe a little over, a little less.
Yeah. So how's it treated you so far?
There's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah. That's what people don't understand, man. They think you get into ministry and it's all wins. It's a lot more losses than wins. Yeah. I find, it's definitely a heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking profession if you do it right. I can't speak for those that are doing it wrong. But yeah, there's a lot more losses than, well, I don't know. There's a lot more wins than losses, but those wins oftentimes feel like losses.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. So, as far as like, what type of ministry do you do?
We done children's ministry for about 2.5 years, and we've kind of just stepped back right now and seeing what opens next.
Yeah. So you got involved here with the men's group at there at y'all's church and
Right.
doing some teaching there and stuff too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I had been praying about, what would be my next open door or where God would lead me, and then about 2 weeks later, when Marcus come to me and asking about doing this with him, and somebody just kind of throw some ideas and just something to get into, and then just kind of took off.
Yeah, I know for us, whenever Marcus decided to do the men's conference, the Lord had been speaking to me about some things, and just being a better man in general, and we're texting back and forth, and I know he said it before, but like he could feel the anticipation and the excitement in just me texting, and when we got talking about it, and we decided to do the group and to do it the way we've done it. I know you and Jesse were the two people that he said that he wanted to get involved and to do some of the teaching and to help out with. So I think it's a good thing. And then I guess some of the men from y'all's group listen to this, but in transparency, how are they receiving the teaching?
Seems like pretty good. They've been, every lesson that we've taught or been doing, it seems like they're pretty engaged and back and forth with it. So I think it's been pretty good.
I agree with you. It's been a lot easier to teach them than I thought, because they're giving it right back to you as you're bringing up a point, or you're going over something in the book. Some of them have already gone through it and they've got their own feedback to it, or they're elaborating on what you said. So I think that it's been pretty good with them being engaged like that.
Yeah.
Which was our goal from the get-go, right? Like, not to just be sitting back teaching, but to get people engaged, because you and I are learning this as we're going through it too, and the funny thing is, it's not that we don't know how to be men, and it's not that we haven't been men. It's not that we haven't been Christ-like men, but we have failed in so many areas. And men in general, have just failed in so many areas. I feel like that we as men sit back and just make the women do everything in the church, when ultimately it's our responsibility.
Yeah. I think it's hard in a lot of ways. We've got a pretty big age gap. Sometimes we have the youth there, sometimes not. But you have middle-aged guys to
Older elders
seniors,
in the church.
And the elders. And it's like, how do you really teach a man to be a man when they're being a man the best way they know how? Because they're a man, they're living. But then you have tools that we've sought after and that we've got that really give you a blueprint, so to speak, of how to do it. But how do you teach it? And I was kind of worried about the same thing. How are they going to receive that? When I'm a 60-year-old man and you're just now telling me this, or it's been a learning experience for us as well.
It's tough also when you're a 45-year-old man teaching a 60-year-old man how to do something, and they're like, what are you trying to teach me that I don't already know? And
it's another aspect of it is I'm learning it as I'm trying to teach it as well. Yeah. It's been a learning curve.
Yeah.
So what was the lesson that you taught? Do you remember the title of it?
Was it Purpose? I think it's what it was.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah. So did you glean anything from it? Can you share what you took away from it? Do you remember what you taught? I know for me, whenever I'm studying these lessons, it's hard for me to remember exactly. I kind of jumble them all together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as far as my purpose, it's just kind of having, going where God leads me to. Not necessarily I have to be in ministry or be in front of a bunch of people to be ministering or, to have a purpose, but, just doing what God wants me to do, being a good person, a good steward, or lending a helping hand, or, whatever God's leading me to do.
Yeah. I know that's a good lesson. I feel like for you to have taught, because you and I have had the conversation of just trying to find what it is that God wants me to do.
Yeah.
And we talked about just getting busy doing something, you know, whatever that may be. Oftentimes I think we get a picture in our mind, or maybe even God shows us. I know for me, the night I gave my life to Christ, I say I had a vision. I mean, honestly, that's the only thing I could call it. And I've seen a lot of that vision come to pass already with the youth ministry and things like that. But the one thing that I haven't seen are the amount of people that I saw. And the thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is that all of those people may not have been in that one setting. God may have been showing me ministry as a whole, not just, sorry guys on the camera, showed me ministry as a whole from start to finish, not in one setting to where I took it as this is it. This is what I'll be doing right here, But I think sometimes we just kind of get lost in the what do I need to do and not the just get busy doing it, know. And it definitely makes it tough, especially when you've been in it and then you feel like you need to step back, and then it's like, how do I start again? You know. Any words of advice for people like that?
Just keep praying, and just keep your eyes and ears open on what God's doing or what God's showing you or even telling you.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I felt when we stepped down from children's ministry, and it's it didn't feel the same. Mm-hmm. You're wanting something to do, or something you should be doing or could be doing, but you're asking God, where do I go? What do I do? Mm-hmm. There's probably God's probably showing you somewhere, but you're just not looking or paying attention.
Yeah, I think that's key. Is a lot of times we get so focused on what it is that we want to do that we miss what God's telling us to do. Yeah. I know for me it's that way. I know even in doing this podcast, I laid in my bed for years. Well, God, you took it all from me, and I don't have a platform, and how can I do ministry? You called me to youth ministry, and how can I do it? And da-da-da, and da-da-da. And I felt the Holy Spirit say, you got a phone. You got a phone, and the youth today are connected to their phones to start ministering, and then it took me 5 years still. It took me 5 years to get out of my funk to even start doing it, and even whenever I started it, I didn't do it right. I looking back, I can say that this right here is what I should have been doing. And then not that the interviews that we did with other people were not beneficial, right? It gave me experience working a camera and working a mic and learning the programs and getting comfortable behind the camera. But the whole time I should have been focusing on ministry more than just focusing on doing a podcast and giving people a chance to talk.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So what do you think? So we wrap tonight basically on the men's group here with our group, and you come to our group, but you also do the group at Dilworth. And what do you think about all the lessons just in general?
I think there's something good. I mean, it's because me myself, I wasn't raised in church. I didn't really come from a Christian family. I had a couple of aunts that was Christians and every week churchgoers. But me myself, I think it was a good lesson to show not just being a man, but being a godly man to help lead your family, your children, and trying to live the best life you can that God wants you to live.
All right. And that's one thing we've said from the get-go is even if you're not a believer, you can put these principles into play. You can take them and in all honesty, if you're not a believer and you do it the right way, you're probably going to become a believer. Yeah. But you can take these principles and apply it and just become better in general, which we should as men, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer, and maybe I'm wrong. I know we're all born sinful, right? But I believe that majority of the world is good. I mean, 80-90% of the world is good. It's just a small fraction that's bad. And we think, but that's what we cover. That's what we focus on. So we think most of the world's bad. But I mean, really, if you get out and about, most people are pretty friendly.
Yeah. Just want to be good.
Yeah. And they want to do the right thing. So, I think most people are on the right track doing that anyway. But whenever you begin to hone in and focus on who you are and becoming a person of integrity and surrendering over to God and being compassionate towards others, and using your influence to change others. I mean, all those lessons we learned. I think it just helps develop you into something just even better, which we all strive to be and don't know how to do.
Yeah. So talking about development and stuff, with the podcast and with the book and the lessons and study we were doing, did it help you with the podcast? Did the podcast help you studying, or did you get more out of it just studying it on your own?
The podcast helped because you can listen to it and kind of see an overview when you were talking about it, and kind of help listens. If you hear it, then go through and read it. It helps. For me, it did anyway.
Yeah, it gives you somebody else's perspective on it, not just what you're seeing in your brain. Yeah, and that was our hope with it. It's not that we've had people say, well, I was looking for a teaching. Well, it's not really a teaching. Yeah. It's get the book and read the book for yourself and gain your own understanding from it, and then listen to what we think. And if you disagree with us, that's fine. Maybe you hear something differently than what we've heard it. Share it with us. We're willing to listen.
Yeah, please.
But maybe it just helps you get a clearer understanding of it. Maybe help you see it a little bit more than just reading it there on the page, if that makes sense.
And we've said this all along. We were just giving you in the podcast what we got from the lessons, just from two regular guys and what the Lord spoke to us in it. We weren't trying to teach it word for word. Ever, I wasn't.
Yeah, no. Three regular guys, even though Chris was asleep. 2.5
men. But yeah, we were never trying to teach it from the book word for word. That was, and we really did it that way because we put it on you to study and do it. But we wanted guidelines and just an overview of what we got from it, and to each lesson to apply.
Yeah. So, in saying all that, Dewayne, how did you come to Christ?
When me and my wife had met, just talking, being friends, and kind of just hanging out, and she was already in church at Dilworth, and she kept nudging me, wanting me to go to church, and I kept telling her, no, this church ain't really for me. I've lived on the wrong side and done some things that I didn't feel like God could forgive me for, and she just kept nudging, and I woke up one Sunday morning and called her and asked her where she go, and she said, yeah, and she said, told her I'd meet her there. And then when I got there, just like God had spoke to me, and I was white knuckling in the pew and kept telling myself, I'm not going. And pretty soon I was in the altar.
Yeah. How long ago has that been?
About 9 years.
Yeah.
9.5.
So 9 years from coming to Christ till now, and doing ministry. I mean, that's pretty fast. I mean, for me, like, I gave my life to Christ at 18. I got involved in a ministry about 6 months after. I probably started speaking at those events 6 months after that. So within a year, I was doing some sort of ministry, and I look back and it's like, man, that was extremely fast. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think about, God, who all did I screw up? How many people have I jacked up along the way, But it's funny how God takes you so fast. Mm-hmm. You think, I don't know anything about the Bible. I don't study the Bible. I don't read the Bible, too. All of a sudden, you know more than what you think you know. Now, for us, the advantage of living in the South, in the Bible Belt, and growing up in and out of church, or at least hearing about church, we know about Christ, And I would say, honestly, probably most of the United States is that way. You get into the bigger cities and maybe not as much, but I know New York State, like you hit the city, Manhattan, all that, maybe not as much, but whenever you hit upstate New York, they're just old country rednecks like us, and they go to church and do the same things we do. So we fail to realize how much we do know, and I think that's why Christ pushes us so quickly, because time's short. We need to, number one, our lives are short. We think that, average lifespan of a man's 74. We think that's a long time, but I mean, crap, I'm 46 years old. My life's more than halfway over.
Yeah, man. We're talking about a a boss or something earlier, and they was talking about, or no, it was your mother-in-law. You were talking about her mother-in-law. She's like, he's 56, and I was like, man, that ain't far off.
That's 10 years older than I am.
Gosh, that ain't far off, man.
Yeah, good old Dwayne's mother was 10 years older than me. It's like, golly, man.
Man, that's
crazy.
not far off.
How old are you doing?
41.
41. Man. Baby. Golly.
Baby, you ain't that much older than I am.
I'm 46 years old.
That's only 5 years. I'll be 42 next month.
I was graduating before you in high school, man.
I belong.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, a baby over there. Golly. He looks older than us, though, so that's all that matters. How do your kids like church? I mean, were they brought up in church? I mean, I know you said they're not yours. Were they brought up? Jessica brought them up in church?
The majority of their life, yeah, they have been.
Yeah.
She ain't always been a saint either. So, I mean, she was, she grew up and was, working in bars and, just as a server and just working jobs to make ends meet as a mom and stuff like that. So, I mean, she wasn't raised in church. She had somebody that led her. So, but she was already there and got saved when she led me. So,
yeah. How does she feel? How does she feel about the men's group?
I believe she's enjoyed it. She said it seemed like it's helped make a difference in me, helped me be a better husband and better dad and, to just better person.
Yeah.
Have the boys received it good? I know they've been there about every time you've been there.
Yeah, no, I think some of it they've picked up on and done better and, done good. And some of it is just being teenagers and
yeah.
But majority of it, I think they've done good, picked up on.
Yeah, it's the same way with my boys. Like, I mean, Cullen comes in for 5 minutes and, he's wanting to go out with his girlfriend or whatever. And it's like, the part of me wants to say, no, you need to be here, but the other part of me is, no, you need to make the decision to be here. You need to understand the importance of it. I do know that I've gone up to his room and looked at his book and he's done the book, maybe not all of it, but he's done it. And, but it's like, pick your battles. You know what I mean? Pick your priorities. I've been texting this for 2 months, I mean, when we had to cancel in March, rescheduled for now. And then I've texted a couple times and then this week. So you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But yet you want to run out and do what you want to do, which is being a kid,
It's understandable. But then it's like what we've talked about a bunch. And it goes to the point you were making a while ago, how funny it is that the Lord, how fast he progresses us. It's another thing. It's all about effort too.
Yeah.
It's how much effort we put into it. So we're going to get out of it what we put into it.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't expect my kids I can't expect anybody to love Christ the way that I do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And hopefully nobody does love him the way I do because it's a pretty crappy way, at times, but, they have to figure it out for themselves. The only thing I can do is be the man that they need me to be and show them that, which I haven't always been. I'm not saying I'm a bad father or a bad husband, but there have definitely been times in the last 21 years, Keegan's 21. So in the last 21 years that I've been checked out, and if I'm being honest, probably 13 years of that, I've been there, but had Candace not been so diehard about church, and let me back up. Had she not been so diehard about Christ, it's not church with us. It's about a relationship. And, but had that been the case, I don't know where my kids would be right now. I mean, when we left Dilworth, Cullen he was born in January. We left in June. So 5-6 months old, the other two were there every time the doors were open because I was there, you know what I mean? It was my job. And I don't mean to say that I stepped out on God when I wasn't getting paid for it. I had served for 20 years. I mean, I had been going at that point, but 10 years paid, 10 years unpaid. But, things happen the way they happen. And it took me a long time to realize it was just as much my fault, if not more. But had she not been so steadfast, I don't know that they would even be interested in it. And that's one thing that I don't have to worry about with my kids. Like, they go to church. They want to go. They want to go on Wednesdays. They want to be there on Sundays. And it's not just them going to just be a part of the youth group. That's some of it. But I do know they receive. We ask them, hey, what was the lesson on? what they talk about tonight, and they tell us back, they repeat it back to us, and so my prayer in this for my boys, number one, is I want them to get it like I've got it. But if they don't in this moment, at some point they will, you know what I mean? And they'll remember those principles. And it's like that. I heard a thing today. I constantly get little nuggets that God throws at me, but on the radio this morning, on a country station of all things, I don't listen to country. I don't know why my radio's on it, but
yes, you do.
No, I don't. But I listened to Rick Burgess, and so it had to be ZZK, but they were talking about the qualifications to be a man, and he played the thing, the guy at the barbecue is the closest thing to a king, and stand up when you shake people's hand, look them in the eye, those principles, and those are good principles, right? You need to. Those are good sound words of wisdom for young men, but you also need to know about Christ and these principles that we're teaching there. So hopefully your boys will gain from it and get something from it. And even though we don't see it, I know Keegan will come home from work and talk about just the people he works with that are non-believers. And Dad, how do I handle this? What do I say here? Or how do I say it? That type of thing.
It's got, I've noticed a lot more situations like that to where Kyle's coming to me with stuff like that. This happened at work today, Dad, or man, I can just tell something's wrong with him, or something's on his mind, and what's going on? You okay, bud?
Yeah.
Well, he it's like he trusts me more or something. He just wants to open up. Maybe it was just inside him, and that's all he was waiting on.
Waiting on you. Yeah.
But yeah, I can see it turning in him.
Well, hopefully we'll have him on here in a couple of weeks, and he could share his journey, because even though you've been in church, you played drums for the church for 20 plus years, he's actually been doing ministry, quote unquote, what we would call pulpit ministry, for the last couple of years. And I know you and I've talked, and there's times that you've said, here my son is doing it, but I'm not. And then I say, well, here my nephew is doing it, and my sons aren't.
Yeah.
And
it was weird, like you said, what we were saying a while ago about how fast the Lord, like you got into and turn around and you're preaching, it's happened the same way with him. It seems like we turn the corner and, hey, you want to come to church to hear me preach? And it's like, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not that I hadn't seen a change in him, but teenagers and young men that still live at the house, you see them when you see them, and they walk through, hey Dad, bye Dad, but just the way it turned around and the way the Lord turned him around, it just clicked with him.
Yeah. So Dewayne, what would your definition of a man be?
I believe being a follower of Christ, putting Christ first. If you're putting Christ first and following Him, then you're going to lead your family where you need to. Like you was talking about, your boys and stuff. You want them to, be as much in love with it as with Christ as you are. Yeah, I agree. I'd probably want mine to be a little better, a little more than I am.
Sure.
So I haven't always been the best, and I've messed up and been hard-headed and fought in battles of, the childhood things you've gone through, and not being raised up in church, and the battles you fight from your past, and you're trying to do good and do right, and then the devil always rears his head up trying to come at you and make you to backslide or backstep. So I believe I would want my boys to be better than what I have been.
Sure.
Just being the best man God would want you to be. You strive for excellence. You're not going to be Jesus Christ, but just be the best that you can, to the best man for your wife and your kids, to be a good example for them to follow.
Yeah. And I think that's key, man, because we live in a day in a society where men are attacked in general. You know what I mean? Especially white Christian males, but men in general, masculinity has been attacked, but also feminism has been attacked by the masculinity being attacked. So, we know Christianity has been attacked for years, but now you have this influx of really probably the last, I don't know, probably 20 years. It's kind of cool to be a Christian. It's kind of the hip thing to do. You see people going to church because I call it seeker friendly, I guess, people want to be a part of something bigger than they are, but they don't want to be involved. And then you get these over the top ministers where everything's about a demon. And I think God is trying to bring us back to the basics. I think I'm not saying that those things don't happen, right? I'm not saying people don't get possessed and demons can't be cast out and things like that. But I think God is trying to get us to come back to the basics, which is love God, love people, and make disciples. And all that other stuff will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. You'll be presented with those things and you'll handle it if you have Christ in your heart, if you have him in your life and you know him. And I think that God's trying to bring us back to the basics in some sort of way of just knowing who he is, producing good fruit, putting forth effort, doing the work, and then not worrying so much about the glitz and the glam of it. The songs don't have to be right. The preaching doesn't have to be just right. People don't have to be rolling around in the floor blowing snot and all that stuff. Let's just know him and worship him, and I think that's what he's trying to get us back to. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just what I feel in my heart. We'll see, I guess, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I know, at least for us, there's a group of 10 of us. I don't know how many y'all got to deal with. There's a group of 8 or 10 here that we're going to take that path and we're going to get back to the basics of who God is and what he wants us to be as far as men.
And some of our lessons and stuff that, like integrity, and I think all those are for a purpose, because I think you're going to see an influx of people into the church because they're looking for something real. Mm-hmm. And if we're living our lives and we're imitating Christ and doing what he's called us to do in discipleship and spreading the gospel, those things are real. Those things are impactful. And that's what's going to turn a generation.
Yeah, I agree.
But we've got a couple of friends that go to different churches, and there's a couple of evangelists we follow around, and the past couple of times that we visited, like Sunday afternoons or revival or anything, they've had some growth in the churches.
Yeah.
It's been, so I think it's, getting closer and closer. People are seeking, trying to live their life better.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And that's what I'm saying. I think when God is saying, get back to the basics, like all of that other stuff will take care of itself, mm-hmm. Speaking in tongues or prophecy or words of knowledge, all that stuff, there's a place for all of that. But if you don't know Christ mm-hmm. and truly know him, then you're not truly operating in the gifts that he's given you. And I think people are so tired of I'm an apostle or I'm a prophet, do what I say. Well, you say you're an apostle, you say you're a prophet, but nothing you say or do comes true. You're hateful, you're ugly to people, you're distant, you don't love people with the love of Jesus. So why should I serve him? I think they've been pushed that way, but now they're saying, but there is something that keeps drawing me and I want to find the truth. And I think that's really our role that we should be playing, is to show people the truth and let the other things happen the way they happen. If I go to church every time I go looking for somebody who's possessed by a demon, I'm not loving Jesus. I'm giving praise to the devil. You know what I'm saying? Let me come cast this devil out. That's what I'm here for. Well, maybe that's what you're here for, but that's not what you're here. You're here to show people Christ. And if somebody gets delivered, then great.
Yeah.
But to say I have a ministry of deliverance, deliverance ministry in general, like, why is that your focus? Why should your focus not be on, I have a ministry for Jesus and deliverance is part of it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think, like we had revival this past week, and Noah Owensby was the evangelist, but he said something that kind of impacted me too, though. But and it speaks for the whole church these days, and it's like we get so caught up in ministry and preaching and teaching that we forget, and the most important thing, to see God move is to get ourselves out of the way. Mm-hmm. But we have to spend time with God. Mm-hmm. If we're always not to say that God won't give it to us, but we get so caught up in just preaching or just teaching that we forget to spend time with God. That's what it's about, our personal relationship with Him. I feel like we miss that so much.
The preaching and the teaching brings me glory. You know what I mean? If I preach a good sermon, I teach a good lesson, I'm going to get praise for that, not God. People's going to come tell me, man, that was a home run message. Man, that was fire. And we leave God out of it. And we leave God out of the fact of, hey, God gave you a fire word. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And God used you to deliver it. And so I think He's trying to get us to move out of the way and get into the
get back to the one-on-one. Get back to the one-on-one and get your mind in one accord, like we were talking earlier. Get your mind back on Him and your focus back on Him.
Yeah, I agree.
So He can move.
I agree with that. Well, Dewayne, one last question before we let you get out of here, man. What do you think Bigfoot is?
Or I think he is probably in your backyard.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Turn them out when you walk to the truck.
Yeah, I'm going to turn them out on you. So, well, all right, folks. We just wanted to give you just a little update on what we're doing and kind of get Dewayne's perspective on our teachings for Men of Valor and how to be a man. If you haven't yet, go back to lesson 1. It's under the Men of Valor tab. It's entitled Identity. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Start at 1 and follow through. If you need the book,
How to Be a Man, Rick Burgess and Andy Blanks.
How to Be a Man by Rick Burgess and Andy Blanks. Go grab it, and you can follow along. 5 day. It's a 5-day journal type lesson. Do it for 5 days. Listen to the podcast. Do your next lesson. Listen to the podcast, and see if it helps you. Shoot us a comment. Let us know what you think. We want to hear your take on it and your spin on it. We got some more stuff coming up. So like we said, we're going into the Forge. And if you got any more show ideas or any more, studies, Bible studies, or anything you think we should get into, shoot us an email. Wesley's got the email. Yeah. He's so prepared, y'all. So prepared. Shoot us an email, amongtheashes@yahoo.com. He's trying this whole camera stuff. He is committed. I give him that.
Passion.
It must be that chair because Dwayne's falling asleep over there too.
I ain't sleep yet.
I ain't sleep yet.
I done eat dinner, so you know how to do.
Yeah, I got you. So check out the lesson 1 through 8, How to Be a Man by Andy Blanks and Rick Burgess. Shoot us a comment, leave us a direct message. If you're struggling in any kind of way, you got anything that you're battling with, you need prayer, anything like that, you can email us at amongtheashes@yahoo.com, or you can find us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can shoot us a direct message on all of those. They're all found Among the Ashes podcast. If you're watching this, you're already on YouTube, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button, turn the notifications on so you can stay up to date whenever we drop new episodes, which are typically every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. and Tuesdays at 9 a.m. typically. But you will get something every Thursday on how to be a better man right here, 9 a.m. Central Time. So with that being said, remember this. Jesus loves you. We love you. We got you back. Romans 8:31 says, if God be for us, who can be against us? And if that's the case, then we can go into every single day and crush it, right? So go crush today, tomorrow, the next day. Keep pushing forwards and keep your heads up. And we'll see you guys next time.